Hello. Don't actually know if anyone's here yet, but hello. Hello. Sorry for the late announcement of this. I kind of completely forgot about announcing this, and it came to like today, and I was like, oh, I need to post this. Fun times. Becca should be joining us shortly. Lisa is currently on a bus heading back from London. So it's just my lonesome self at the moment. Hello. I've never started a show by myself, so this is quite interesting. I don't know what to say. Obviously, this thing was amazing. How are we all this evening, by the way? How are we all? I don't know what else to say. So did we all enjoy the book? Is this, what did we all give it? What did we all give The Amazing Shadow Kiss? Hello, Nicola. Hello. I'm doing good, thank you. First day back at work after like the Becca's weekend, and everything just was there when I got back from what, like where I finished just on Tuesday. Everything was still there. Oh, I'm so happy. I love people giving it 5-star. I understand people giving it like less than 5-star because I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it makes me happy. Surprise, surprise, I gave it 5-star because I loved it. I absolutely loved it. That ending, I'm not gonna spoil the ending. We're gonna do spoilers later, but that ending broke me, and I was listening to the audiobook at work, and I had to stop halfway through a chapter because it was gonna make me cry at my desk, and that's not the best look to have whilst at work, is crying at my desk. It didn't have the same effect as Frostbite, but still well. I think a lot of people love Mason more than I love Mason. I didn't, don't get me wrong, I love Mason. Mason's such a sweetheart, but he's not Dimitri or Adrian. Yeah, I think Dimitri is just everything. Yeah, honestly, if I hadn't stopped, it would have made me cry, and that's just no, I don't like that. So yeah, I am doing good, thank you. The ending made it. I was like, no. Yeah, I think it's a really nice twist to the nice twist to the end, like to the YA trope, because so many times, especially in the early 2000s when this was released, it definitely made me kind of like go, oh, you can't do that. Rose is meant to be with Dimitri. I think it was the first sort of romantical twist that I'd ever read. I mean, now it's more common to sort of have like the first love die or change or go evil. But I think this one definitely made me go, no. Just been messaged by Becca, and Becca can't make it. So it's just me and you guys today to talk about Frostbite. Just our lonesome self. I think it's going to be quite a quick one because it's only me. But yes, type away your thoughts and feelings. I'm going to say we're going to dive straight into spoilers now, especially as we are waiting for Becca. We're going to dive straight into spoilers and everything Frostbite, Shadow Kiss. Oh, why did I think it was Frostbite? Why did I say it was Frostbite? So yes, we're gonna dive straight into this. Thank you. Oh, I've never done this by myself. This is my first live by myself, so we've got this. We've got this. I think we should start off with the ending because that ending was just incredible. I think the thing that gets me every time is Dimitri's, like, not Dimitri's, Rosa's scream. Like, you could actually hear her scream. Yes. I feel like Maya has had the most growth in the last 3 books. She's definitely had like a character change, and I love that she's now living in the court with her father, and that whole court scene, seeing the court, was quite nice. I didn't want to like her at all in the series. Well, you know, I think she, like I said, she's had the most growth, and I think she's definitely learned from her mistakes. And I think the end of Shadow Kiss, not Shadow Kiss, Frost. I need to learn the book names. At the end of Frostbite, I think really made her grow up and made her realize, like, the whole of Frostbite, when she lost her mum, and then when she watched Mason die, because she was there when Mason died as well. You know, it kind of really made her stop and think, and made her realize what was important, what wasn't important. I think it was definitely something that she learned from. Someone else that I think learned a lot in this book was Lissa. Definitely feel like the ending, it pissed me off. Like, she actually annoyed me. I always thought that she was a little bit naive when it came to what Rose has to deal with as a guardian and as a Dhampir. But then to have it laid out in front of her and still try and compulse Rose to stay, I just felt was really wrong of Lissa and very selfish. And I really I want her to grow up a lot in the next few books, because she's quite immature. I feel like in these books she's in her own little world of everything's fine. Like, I can take Rose wherever I want. Like, Rose is my best friend. And I think Lissa really needs to, like, grow up a little bit and realise that the world is not all it's cracked up to be. And Rose has sacrificed so much to be friends with Lissa, and so much to, like, she's sacrificed so much. She sacrificed not being with Dimitri in the first place, because not only, yeah, I understand, you know, mentor and student probably shouldn't go there, age difference, but the thing that was stopping them the most was Lissa, and the fact that they were both Lissa's guardians, or Rose is going to be Lissa's guardian, and Dimitri's is Lissa's guardian. They were both going to be her guardian, and having that there was just such a sort of, like, yeah, I lost my train of thought. I feel like the whole book set you up for the ending throughout reading. Throughout reading it, I was hopeful, and the worst thing that happened like that. I knew when I read it the first time. I knew when Rose and Dimitri had that one night, I was like, something's gonna happen. There is no way that there are 3 more books and Dimitri and Rose can have their happily ever after. Something's going wrong. Someone's gonna find out. Something's gonna happen. I'm not gonna lie, I did not anticipate it to go that way when I first read it. And you can see why last year, as a Dimitri lover, I did not want to read this book last year. For those of you who don't know, I tried to do a reread by myself last year, and I read the first 2, cried at the second, and then I went to go pick this one up. And when I know what happens at the end of this book, and I don't want to go through that again, so I didn't. I put it back. I didn't read it, and then I decided to start this. So I was kind of like, But I'm excited to read the next 3 books now. I wanted to slap Lissa at the end. Yeah, Lissa deserves one big at work, so shouldn't be here, but I liked this one. The ending was so touching as well. I felt like Rose giving up the academy, she for the first time in a while, she's put herself before Lissa. I feel like Rose has put Lissa's health and needs first the entire time. And yes, she's had her selfish moments, but they've been trivial selfish moments. Like, at the end of the day, that was just her being a teenager. But I feel like she's definitely, she's going off to go kill Dimitri because her love for Dimitri is stronger than her love for Lissa, or is a different type of love. And I feel like it's really touching, sort of like, I'm 18, I'm going to go save Dimitri from himself. I agree with you about her selfishness. Yeah, she was really, Lissa's so selfish in this book. Also sad that Mason was gone again. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I cried. I nearly cried again when Mason was saying goodbye. At the end of the day, Mason still was protecting Rose and the others, and he finally did what he needed to do. Wasn't the best outcome, but he saved a lot of people. Definitely the ending with Alyssa, I wanted to slap her too. Rose seems to have grown up, and I hope the next book, I want to see Alyssa grow more. Yeah, again, I'm not going to talk too much about the next book because I read them, but I think that the next few books, there's definite shift. I don't think it's classed as new adult, but it's definitely got a more adult feel to it. Like, they've all grown up. Because, yeah. I'm also hoping that something happens with Christian, so it shows her not to put all her life in a guy. I think Lissa needs to, that's just being a teenager. I can remember as a teenager having, girlfriends sort of disappear because they suddenly became romantically involved with someone. But I think Lissa wanting Rose to stay there proves that Rose is just as important to Lissa as Christian is. She's just not grown up enough to understand the balance of having a romantic relationship and having a friend. I think she's always expected Rose to be there for her, and she was selfish in the way she handled it, and how she didn't really handle it. She was kind of like, well, I'm with Christian, I want to spend all my time with Christian, but Rose will always be there for me. And I think when Rose was like, I'm leaving to go kill Dimitri because it's Dimitri's worst nightmare to be a Strigoi, Lissa kind of went, oh, but you're meant to be my best friend. And she's like, yeah, I am your best friend, but I have to put me first too sometimes, not just you. And I really like where the dynamic went in this book. The ghost elements were so fun to read. I do feel like it added an extra level. I like the new development of Rose's awareness of the Strigoi. Yeah, it came in very handy during that final battle. Because, you know, she was able to sense when things were around and all of that. So yeah, definitely a interesting one. Lissa was so annoying trying to set Rose up with guys. I think Lissa just wanted Rose to have what she had with Christian, and I don't think she doesn't fully comprehend what Rose goes through. And I think that part of the reason is because she's in her own little couple bubble with Christian, and kind of her life is on track for the first time in a long time, and she wants to share it with Rose. And the way she sees it is, oh, my relationship with Christian's going so well, so Rose needs to be in a relationship. I think it's, again, the immaturity that life is all roses if you're in a relationship. It's not always. One thing I do think we need to talk about, and again, this could be part of the relationships, is that Rose taking Lissa's darkness away from her. It was so kind of hinted at in the second book, but you really get to see it in the first book, in this third book. I think it was a really interesting sort of like take, and it was frustrating to read because as a reader you can read it, you can see it in the pages. You're like, Rose, notice this, you're taking her darkness, you're physically taking the emotions and the dark emotions away from her. See it, but it's always harder when you're in the book rather than just reading the book. But I found it really interesting, that whole aspect of it, and where that was all going, and how sort of Rose sort of dealt with it. But again, it kind of showed, I'm really laying into Lissa today, but it kind of showed Lissa in a new light as well, because Rose noticed it with Lissa even before she was shadow kissed with Lissa, and before she really understood what being shadow kissed was and understanding Lissa's brain. She still noticed it with Lissa. She still noticed the darkness in and around her, whereas Lissa didn't notice with Rose. Lissa was so wrapped up in her own little bubble, she didn't see the darkness that Rose was taking on for her. And again, it kind of showed the relationship that Rose and Lissa have, and I think it's changing. Lissa needed Rose to depend on for so long, and Lissa finally was kind of free of that for a little bit because she's finally in the right mental state. But in doing so, she's kind of pushed Rose aside and has become very selfish. So yeah, it's kind of, yeah. What were your guys' thoughts on the whole taking darkness thing? I liked how there was a part, it was during that scene, and I'm going to call it that scene between Dimitri and Rose, because that scene is just chef's kiss, mainly because of what happens in the scene, and I'm not going to lie, I love that scene. But it was the Dimitri using the same exact words Rose used for Lissa when Lissa started going dark. I mean, it is an interesting take on things, and I'm excited for everyone to see the darkness and how it manifests itself in the real world. Because don't forget, in this book we find out that Rose can see ghosts when she's outside of the wards, and she is spending a lot of time out of the wards because she's just left the academy and she's left the Moroi life to go hunt Dimitri. So she's out in the real world and she's gonna have ghosts. She's gonna have ghosts. So yeah, I think it's interesting to. Oh, I'm saying interesting a lot today. What else can we talk about? It makes sense to me when reading, and you can see why their friendship. Yeah, I definitely feel like their friendship changed a lot. I think Rose has grown up quicker than Lissa, and I think that's what's created the rift. And I think Rose having Dimitri as like this role model to not look up to because, you know, they're equals, or they like to see themselves as equals, kind of, yeah. I lost my train of thought again. I didn't think about it when reading that. Lissa didn't notice Rose darkness or nothing. It's written in there so naturally it's normal for her not to notice. Yeah, and I think that's Lissa's character. Lissa is very entitled without meaning to be entitled. I think she's very naive in the world and that everything's going to be okay because she says it's going to be okay, and it's like, no. No, Lissa, I think you need to think about that again. Can we talk about the opening of the first chapter? I'm trying to remember the first chapter. Ah, yes. 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 So opening of the first chapter is Rose going into Lissa's mind for some sexy time with Christian. I always find it kind of icky. And it's not icky, but at the same time, like, if I was to go into one of my friends' head whilst they were having sex with someone else, like with their boyfriend, I'd be like, no, can you, like, turn it off? Like, turn it off. Because that is not okay. I was reading it and I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, it definitely sort of, like, sends you straight in there. Yeah. It's like literally his fingertips slid along my back, applying hardly any pressure, yet sending shockwaves over my flesh. Is the first sentence. I'm like, okay. Don't get me wrong, I love Christian, but he's no Dimitri. Talking of boys, can we all just say how much I love Adrian and how sorry I feel for him? That is one thing that I really dislike Rose for, is using Adrian's emotions to further her love with Dimitri, and her she used him to get money to go and help Dimitri, and I don't think that was right at all. Like at the end when she got the money and was leaving, you know, he said, can you give me a chance when you return? And she said yes, but at the same time it was a no. And she was like, yeah, I felt really bad for him at that point. I just wanted to wrap him up in bubble wrap, because a lot of people forget how fragile Adrian is, because he self-medicates with, you know, smoking and alcohol and things like that, but he's still mentally not quite right, I don't think. I think he's quite fragile mentally because he's dealt with so much by himself for so long, and he's finally found this like group of friends that sort of accept him, and yeah, they make cracks at him and all of that, but at the end of the day it's a loving group of friends. And then you have these feelings for someone and they don't reciprocate because they've fallen in love with someone else, that someone else dies, and yet they still choose that other person over you. It must be quite like heart-wrenching for Adrian. I definitely felt for him at that point. Adrian is amazing. I found in this book she has more control with the mind thing as in she chooses when to go in Lisa's mind, when Lisa goes. Yes, I do think she had more control, because I think she's learned to accept it now, and she knows what it is as well, which means there's a way of controlling. Knowledge is power, and knowing what it is happening helps, I think. It wasn't right, but I'm wanting something to eventually develop between them. I'm not saying anything. Just a quick disclaimer, do not read any of the Bloodline blurbs. Just don't do it. Because it would spoil the whole of, like, the series. Just don't read the Bloodline blurbs, please. I was kind of hoping that when she gets back, he's either moved on or something's developed. Yeah, it's one or the other. I don't want to say too much. I'm not going to say too much. But yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see. Is Dimitri actually dead, Liv? Well, he's a Strigoi. Mason confirmed that he was Strigoi. And that's what Rose is going off to do. She's about to go off and kill Dimitri. She's about to go find Dimitri and kill him. Because, you know, it's what you gotta do when your boyfriend turns Strigoi, is go and kill him. So yeah, I'm trying to think of what else is in this book, because the thing is so much happens in this book. Can we talk about Eddie for a second? I love Eddie. I don't think Eddie gets enough attention. Eddie's amazing. Like, he's been through so much, and yet he still comes back stronger every time. I think we always focus on how good Rose is as a guardian, but actually Eddie's just as good. Yes, he doesn't have the same instincts as Rose, but he still is self-sacrificing. He's still strong and talented. He, you know, I think it was kind of, yeah, it kind of, Eddie just is a lovely person, and I want all the best for him. I don't think she will kill him. Eddie was great. He was. I'm hoping for happy ending, and Dimitri is Dimitri. How, Lee? How? How is Dimitri going to be Dimitri again? He's a Strigoi. He is undead. I'm not going to say anymore. I'm not going to say anymore. Oh, I'm not going to say anymore. Nope. You're not getting anything out of me. Yeah, I hope we get to see more Eddie. I actually like the fact, I think separating them was a really good thing, because it meant that Rose wasn't relying on the bond, and, like, as Alberta said, it's kind of like, you know, you're not always gonna have the bond. Yes, it's great that you've got this bond, and yes, it's great, you know, you might get to use it, but at the end of the day, nothing is guaranteed. And the way that the Queen really dislikes Rose for pretend, you know, for fake dating Adrian, even though nothing's happening, and though it's not fake dating, it's just a rumor. I definitely feel like it helped. And I loved Rose's reaction to, like, when it first happened, and sort of like the darkness that she had, and having that temper tantrum, and then learning from it, and actually, like, you know, this isn't so bad. I also like how Rose went into therapy, and how Rose had therapy, and you get to see Rose's therapy. I thought that was really good. I think it helped Rose make the decision she made. I do think it helped her make her decision to leave as well, knowing that Eddie was there with Lissa and sort of seeing Eddie look after Lissa whilst he was her guardian made Rose realise that, you know, other people can look after Lissa. It's not just her. And I think that took a weight off her shoulders, which meant that she could make the decision to leave the academy and go after Dimitri. I think that, you know, also the fact that Rose went to Christian, went with her instinct rather than actually knowing, yeah. It was really nice to see sort of like her use her brain rather than relying on the link and say, right, where is Christian? Because he's not at the dorm. And sort of like learn from that way. Also, can we talk about, whilst we're talking about Christian, the Moroi magic and how they're finally using it for battle? Because come on, they're using it for battle. They're using it to like kill Strigoi now, and it was just great. I loved that Christian ended up saving Rose, because back when Rose first met up with Christian, she was about to die. She had 2 Strigoi, and they were about to kill her, and Christian saved her. I thought that was beautiful, and that, you know, then going and fighting and going to instead of going to Lissa, she used her brain. Instead of going to protect Lissa, she went and protected the middle school where the children were weaker, and, you know, they had more of an impact. The friendship that grew between Christian and Rose was lovely. I think Christian and Rose's relationship is something that Lissa and Rose will never have, and that is, I think, Rose, Christian, and Eddie, those 3, and then Mia as well, those 4 will have a connection no one else will have, and that is the trauma of going through a Strigoi kidnapping and, you know, watching their friend die. I don't think anyone at the academy can come close to that. And so watching Rose and Christian, it started off as a respect. They respected each other, and then to go into like a full-blown friendship, and it was a friendship at the end. Although I have a feeling Christian and Rose would not say that. They would still say, no, we just have a mutual respect for each other. They're not friends yet, but they are. That was just one of the best parts of the whole. But it was nice to see Rose develop a connection, a friendship connection with someone like Christian. And I know that's going to sound strange, but I feel like Christian and Rose are very similar in their outlooks. Rose has only ever formed connections, like friendship connections, to people she can joke with, like Mason and Eddie. She's only had like a jokey friendship. She's never had a serious friendship other than Lissa. And to see that with Christian as well really made me happy. Yeah, Christian and Rose working together. And I love that they then went and used Moroi magic again to go save them from the caves. We won't talk about the caves too much. Can we also just take into consideration the adults of the book? Like, the way Alberta just accepted that these caves was where the Strigoi were hiding, like not even questioning where she learnt, like where Rose got that from. It was just like, okay, Rose says it's there, so it's there, we're gonna go. There was no like arguing or anything. It was just, okay, we've got this intel, we're gonna use it. Like, there was no questioning Rose's intel. Like, where did she get this from? I think at that point so much had happened that they just didn't particularly think. It was just kind of like a scramble to get them back. Because yeah, I found that hilarious. Can we all also appreciate Alberta? I feel like she's just amazing. Like, she puts up with all of Rose's bullshit. and still is like considering her as someone of the same level as a fully initiated guardian. I just think that was amazing. Yeah, and I had to reread that, but I thought they took it too well. Yeah, they took it really well. Like, Dimitri I can understand, because Dimitri was there when when Rose gave the warning from Mason. So, you know, Dimitri sort of has that level of understanding, like, you know, she's shadow kissed, she can see ghosts, like, this is who she's going to talk to. Whereas the others were just like, yeah, we're just going to take this intel and roll with it. I think the fact that she had Dimitri on her side as well helped a little bit. I feel like Dimitri has more credibility behind his name than he realizes. Alberta was great. So yeah. Can we all just talk about how stupid the Royal Moroi were to try and do their own fighting by themselves? And also love the way Rose's mum was backing Rose as well. I think Rose's mum has kind of finally grasped that Rose is an adult now and she needs to stop being treated like a teenager. And just, I think the whole book, especially the second half of the book, all of the adults kind of realised, especially after that last battle when she killed so many Strigoi with the help of Christian, that she kind of realised, like, they all realised how much Rose has learned and how much she's, you know, helped. And I really like at the end, I can't remember which guardian it was. Who was it? Who was it? One of the adult guardians basically was like, I've got to stay here with this person, like with some of the other novices. Rose go into the cave. Like, the trust that those guardians have for Rose to send her into the cave was amazing, and I loved seeing that level of like trust, because that was just on a whole other level. I thought it was amazing seeing that trust that they had. Because yeah, it's, I don't think anyone, I think at that point we realized just how grown up Rose is to like be trusted to be sent into a cave full of Strigoi. And then we don't talk about the ending. We really don't talk about that ending, because that ending is gonna make me cry again. Oh. Oh, I got itchy nose. So what we had at the beginning, but Tony gave it 5-star, Lee gave it 5-star. What did everyone else give it? And also, what do you think is going to happen in the next book? This is my favourite so far. Yeah, I think this is like my least favourite just because of what happens in it. But at the same time, it's one of my favourites. Because, yeah. I'm going to let you type all your real predictions as to where you think this is going to go with Dimitri, with Adrian, with Christian, Alyssa, and Eddie. Where all of this is going to go. And I'll be back with a second book to read you the blurb of the, not the second book, the fourth book. And I'll read you, oh, do you know what I can do? I can read the blurb from here. I gave it 4 stars, but it was just because the middle bit dragged a bit out. Yeah, the middle bit was a little bit slow, but I think it was just kind of like, I think the middle was slow because it kind of made you realise how like slow the year is. I don't think Rose is going to find a way to save Dimitri. Alright. What is the next book? Blood Promise. Okay, are we all ready to read the blurb of the 4th book? Yes, sorry, I didn't mean to. I agree. So, this is the blurb of the 4th book. Are we all okay to read the blurb of the 4th book? Or she will end up with Adrian. Summer Rory / in the VA is working with Strigoi, and Rose saves Dimitri by sacrificing herself. That's a good plot. So, are we all ready for this? This is where I'm going to read it wrong. Bound by love, but sworn to kill, the world thought Dimitri was dead, and to a certain extent, he was, but I hadn't been able to forget a conversation he and I once had. We'd both agreed that we'd rather be dead, truly dead, than walk the world as a Strigoi. It was time to honour our words. Guardian Rose Hathaway's life will never be the same. The recent attack on St. Vladimir's Academy devastated the entire Moroi world. Many are dead, and for the few victims carried off by Strigoi, the fates are even worse. A rare tattoo now adorns Rose's neck, a mark that says she's killed far too many Strigoi to count, but only one victim matters: Dmitry Belikov. Rose must now choose one of 2 very different paths: honouring her life's vow to protect Lissa, her best friend and the last surviving Dragonmere princess, or dropping out of the academy to strike out on her own and hunt down the man she loves. She'll have to go to the ends of the earth to find Dmitri and keep the promise he begged her to make. But the question is, when the time comes, will he want to be saved? Now, with everything at stake, and worlds away from St. Vladimir's and her unguarded, vulnerable, and newly rebellious best friend, can Rose find the strength to destroy Dmitri? Or will she sacrifice herself for a chance at eternal love? Dun dun dun! So yeah, that is the blurb for the 4th book. So, any last words before we wrap this up? Can't wait to read. Need to find out what happens. In the 1st book, they mentioned when a Strigoi first turns, they still remember. I feel like that's foreshadowing that Rose can somehow save Dmitri, but at a cost. Yes. I think, to be fair, I'm in the middle of reading Hosab, A House of Sky and Breath. But once I finish that, Blood Promise will be the next book that I read. Can't wait for the next one. I think the books do get bigger and longer. I kind of like the first couple because they're about 400 pages, less than like 300 pages. They're about 350 pages. But they do get like longer. So, yeah. Well, I wanted to say huge thank you for joining me on my rambles. It was definitely a different type of live show than what I was expecting, but I hope you still enjoyed it all. And thank you for sharing your thoughts, feelings, even if they, weren't 5-star. Because let's face it, this book deserves 5-star. I am going to head off now. Thank you for joining, and I will see you next month for Blood Promise when we discuss everything that happens in Blood Promise. Hopefully with some guests this time. So I will see you next time. Enjoy reading Blood Promise. I'm now going to try and turn off. Oh,